Hey everybody, I'm Ross Johnson, your favorite co-host, coming to you live-ish on the Sound of Tomorrow's show, WAYO 104.3 FM Rochester. Coming up next on said show, we're going to be talking about Roald Dahl, which is delicious, and also a writer. We have an unshelved mystery for you. We've got some tips, we've got some other nonsense, we've got some chit-chat. You know, the normal, the sort of BS you've come to expect from the Sound of Tomorrow at a high level. It's high-grade BS. That's next on the Sound of Tomorrow with the show that you love and the people. But first.
Oh, well, hello, Ross.
Oh, hi, Heather. You know, I can't put my finger on it, but there is something different about you today.
Guess.
You somehow, okay. You look wealthy. Can a person look wealthy?
A person certainly can, Ross, and I certainly do.
Okay, so, because I saw you just last week and you looked, I don't know, fine. Like perfectly, perfectly fine, but like middle class fine. I don't know. But what changed? What happened? Did you get work done?
Oh, absolutely. Because, Ross, not only do I look wealthy, I am wealthy.
Oh.
You see, my dear friend, I have joined the lucrative world of art dealership and, of course, art creation. I'm both maker and seller of art.
Wow. Okay. Art dealership. That's interesting. So, how do I put this? Since when have you been interested in art?
Since I found out how lucrative it is.
Oh, okay.
Starving artists, my lavishly pedicured left foot. I'm making bank, and it's hardly any effort.
Okay, so here's what okay, so I wonder, my question is, I just think that, how are you, okay, so like what art are you doing?
I understand.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're not of the art world like myself, so you probably wouldn't know that broken art is still art.
Yeah, no, that doesn't help.
Oh, you'll understand when I show you. See, this here. This is art.
Okay, no, okay, so you're right. I don't understand. So what I'm seeing is, for people who are listening with their ears, so there's a clear box and shards of maybe broken glass, is that?
So close. Porcelain shards, which broken art becomes new art. And Ross, people are going wild for my pieces. The last one I sold went for $35K.
What? How? Wait. Okay, hold that piece or whatever it is up again.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Does that label read "Rip Balloon Dog"? R.I.P. Balloon Dog?
It does.
As in Jeff Koons' balloon dog statue, the one that got knocked off its pedal recently and shattered at the art show in Florida, I think?
Oh, the very same one. Well, you know more about art than I thought, Ross. I'm impressed.
Okay, so it was in the news, Heather, and I saw that. And what you're selling here is purportedly shards from said balloon dog.
100% guaranteed.
I think you're lying.
How dare you?
I think you're smashing up vases from Dollar General like you do, or possibly on your neighbor's lawn, which you take things from, and pawning them off on the unsuspecting public as balloon dog shards.
Never! I assure you, I have in my lusciously manicured hands the genuine shards of the Florida balloon dog.
Okay, how'd you get them then?
A friend mailed them to me.
What's your friend's name?
Mike Guell, my old friend from college.
And the $2 price sticker from Dollar General was probably just in the box Mike Gigwall used to send you the balloon dog shards.
Oh, why do you keep talking about Dollar General?
Why don't you look at the side of the box you showed me, Heather? Just turn it over. Yeah.
Well, yeah. How'd that get in there?
I could call the police, Heather. Forgery is a crime.
Ross, you wouldn't.
I would. Oh, I'd love to. I've been gunning for you for so long now. But I just bought a new car and I wouldn't mind some. Okay, so you're cutting me in. You're cutting me in.
Fine, But you're making the next Dollar General run.
I would never. Homosexuals don't go to Dollar General.
You're buying the vases. Poor
Fine.
bloomin' dog.
Fine. Ooh. Hello, everyone. I'm Ross Johnson, your favorite co-host.
I'm Heather Zykowski, the babe with the power. You're listening to The Sound of Tomorrow on WAYO-LP Rochester.
We're here sans walnuts.
We're here, what?
I've gotten some feedback on my walnut eating in previous episodes.
I thought you said sans walnuts. Oh my gosh, someone actually said something to you about the walnuts.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
What
I've
did they
received comments.
say?
Maybe. Well, you know,
People are listening to this?
Yeah, it was sort of a I don't know. I feel like it was brought up as neither a positive or a negative, but you're probably not going to bring up someone eating food on the air without kind of saying like maybe stop doing that. You know what I mean?
I mean, it is well known that people hate that.
It wasn't like, oh, you were eating walnuts on the air, that's disgusting. And it wasn't like, oh, you were eating walnuts on the air, I think that's great. It was sort of like, oh, you were eating walnuts on the air. So, and again, I feel like you wouldn't bring that up unless you were kind of saying like, maybe stop eating into the microphone.
So this was an actual listener to this very program.
Yes.
Wow. Did they tell you this to your face or via email?
To my face.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting.
Hello,
did not
Joseph.
receive. Hello, Joseph. I did not receive any feedback on your walnut eating.
That's fair.
Yeah, no one mentioned that to me.
I am not. I do have a fizzy beverage, which is also sort of bad form. However,
we are notorious for that, though.
Yeah,
we're both bad about the seltzers when we record.
Absolutely. So I'm going to try. I'm going to make an effort not to eat during today's episode. Thank you very much. Sacrificing for my fans. I know.
Look at that. Poor Ross going hungry. Well, I hope you're all happy out there for when Ross faints of low blood sugar.
Yeah. Hope you're happy, Joseph, and everyone else listening who suddenly doesn't want to hear me chewing, doesn't want to hear the nuts in my mouth while I'm doing a radio show. Fine. I'll just pass out. That's all right. I guess you'd like that better.
I guess you would. And then I'll have to do the show by myself and you'll just have to listen to me.
Yeah.
That'll be great, won't it? That's great. That'll be great.
Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for your feedback.
So we'd like to let you know that this is what will happen if you write us at jimmyspaceboy@gmail.com with any kind of feedback about our show. We will start off accepting, but by the time we're done discussing it, we will be yelling at you.
Real resentful. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like putting stuff on you that you don't even deserve.
Right.
Like pointing fingers, saying you have motivations that you never, ever had.
Yeah. It's because we're sort of, I don't know, we're bitter and old and lonely.
Yeah, and it's cold out.
It's cold out, and that's making everything harder.
Yeah, that makes everything worse.
You know what, Heather?
What, Ross?
Hi.
I'm
gonna jump into. We have a couple things to talk about. I'm gonna jump into because I've been holding on to these for like 3 weeks now. So I'm gonna jump in before we do anything else. And I'm gonna talk about. I'm gonna throw some hot picks your way. Are you ready?
Oh, I also have a hot pick. This is great.
Okay. So, I have two, and these are two TV shows because I am an artistic, cultured person who watches TV. And these, the first, which one should I do first? Let's see. So there is a Netflix show. I watched the entire thing. It's like 5-6 episodes. I forget. Obviously my research is not great, but it's called, Kunk on Earth. Have you heard of this?
I have. And a lot of people have been posting about it lately.
Oh my gosh.
Is it great?
It's so great. Heather.
Okay.
It's very specific. So I maybe I would hesitate a little to recommend it like unabashedly across the board because it's very specific. So like I watch a lot of these. So it's sort of a parody of I'll give a little background, although I went into it sort of not knowing exactly what it was, which was kind of better, but it's sort of a parody of those like um those sort of those not nature document those like broad history documentaries where they're like, oh, and at the beginning mankind was living in caves and blah blah blah, and then they go through one of those sort of things, the PBS or whatever those kind of things are, the British things, the kind of thing that I
Yep.
watch a ton of anyway. So this is very geared toward me. It is so dry and so um straight faced and very uncomfortable. I've heard conflicting things. So there's like introducing things where she's like standing in front of a cave. So the host is, I don't even know her real name. Diane Morgan, I've just learned, is the real name of the host, but her name on the show is Philomena Kunk, which is
Okay.
also just a funny name. But so there'll be a thing where she's like standing on a rock and doing an introduction, but then she interviews these academics. And I realized quickly, like, because I watch all of these shows, I was like, oh, these are real. Like, these are some of these are some of the people I recognized because they're in all these shows. And I've heard sort of conflicting things about like how much these academics knew what was going on, because she just asks the most ridiculous questions with the straightest face imaginable. Um, Sort of like almost like Borat kind of thing, but
Okay.
in a in like an academic context. Um, and like I saw one thing where it's like, oh, they sort of know it's a comedy, but they don't know exactly what I'm going to say or what, they don't know all the details of what's going on. But I mean, some of them, like, because I was immediately like, if these people do know what's going on, these sort of academics that
Mm-hmm.
do history TV things all the time are incredible actors, because they are, I mean, there are a couple of them that look like they want to die. And I mean, it's the show's very funny, but then there's also that very, you have to like that sort of very uncomfortable humor where it's like, someone's asking someone a ridiculous question as though they are just that stupid,
Okay.
and doing it in a straight faced way, and then like asking a professional to comment. And like some of them do sort of like a, oh, will you raise an interesting point and try to turn it around into something reasonable? And some of them just look like they want to die. Like they
Oh
just like,
no.
they look like they are trapped in a cage that they don't know how to get out of. And it is, I don't know. The whole thing from beginning to end to me was my like laugh out loud show for those 5 episodes that it was on. And I loved it. Again, very specific, so I guess give it a try, but and it is on Netflix, but oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, Heather. I I was nuts for it.
All right. Well, as I said, I've seen a lot of people out there posting about it
Mhm.
and very favorably.
Yeah.
I have not seen one where someone is like, yeah, someone told me it was good, but I thought it sucked.
It's very sharp too. The writing is, like I said, there's sort of the interview segments are more a little more free flowing in a sense, but just the writing and the narration is very sharp and very funny too. So yeah.
Well, maybe I will get to that eventually. I don't always because I've got a big backlog of things to watch. I just recently watched Russian Doll, finally,
Okay.
after you mentioning it for the first time in 2019, I think.
Yeah.
But, I did get to it. And then I didn't
Good.
feel too bad because it seemed like season 2 came out last year.
It's true. So I guess
So
that's fine. Yeah, I don't know. I can't make fun of you because there's
there's a
there's plenty
lot
of,
to catch up
yeah,
on
there's a
these
lot.
days.
There's a
Yeah.
lot.
Um, I'm surprised though. You do like to make fun of me, but I think that one's a legit, like, I had a lot of stuff to watch and I still do. So, do
Yeah.
you want to hear a hot pick from me?
Sure.
Wrestling.
Wrestling.
Now a big wrestling fan.
Are you? Tell me more.
Yes. So, friend of the show, Will Carroll, uh, sometimes host of the fabulous program, what is it, Teen Set Radio Hour here on WAYO, LP Rochester.
National Teen Set Radio.
Is that it?
I think so. That's
I
close enough. You can find it via that.
Yeah, Sunday nights at midnight when it's on. Real great program. Friend of ours, friend of the show, all that good stuff. He is involved in wrestling promoting and stuff. So he was posting about an event coming up. I thought, I've never been to a wrestling event. Why not do something new? and got a couple friends together to go out to this wrestling event in an old church out in Webster. And I really didn't know what to expect. I figured, again, if nothing else, it would be something I'd never done before, so I'd have a new experience.
Yeah.
And wow, it was so much spectacle. It was so much bang for your buck. I could not believe it. Because tickets were, as I was buying them, I was like, this is a little pricey. It was over $20, so not out of this world or anything.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you how many acts they had come up and do stuff. Like just
Can
performance
you
after
can
performance.
you ballpark it? I mean, was it
Uh,
like 3 or like 80?
15,
Okay.
maybe more. I mean, it was a lot of different combinations and different people.
And they were doing sort of a song and dance situation, or
They were wrestling. They were doing like professional wrestling.
so was there I assume there were musical interludes though where someone would perform a song or something?
No, there was a DJ on the stage.
Huh. So like they would but people would probably come out and do some sort of like a little dance number kind of thing, right?
They were doing acrobatics. Like
Okay.
these people were actual wrestlers. Like they were flying around through the air and stuff.
Mhm.
It was really impressive. And at first I was scared because the stage makes so much noise. So it was louder than I thought it was going to be. I'd never been to a wrestling match before. And maybe half an hour in, I said aloud to my friends, "Oh no, I think I like wrestling now." And we really had a lot of fun. At one point, one of my friends said, "This is a great excuse to just scream for a couple hours because the crowd gets really into it and there's all these things you get to scream." It's really fun.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. I'm glad
Yeah.
for you. I mean, is this one of those things where like so is this one of those things where like like that time we were on a road trip and we stopped at Taco Bell and you were like, oh, I really love Taco Bell. And then I don't think you've ever been to Taco Bell before or since. I mean, so I feel like you get into things, and I love this about you. I feel like you get into things because you get into the experience and you're hanging out with your friends and you're doing the thing. So is this one of those things, or is this like there's something about the wrestling experience that spoke to you?
This might be like Taco Bell. I think
Okay.
you're right.
All
If
right.
I've been back to Taco Bell, it was another road trip situation
I'm
where
not trying to psychoanalyze you. I'm
that was
just
the best option. Well, we all agreed that we want to go to wrestling again.
okay.
So, with any luck, somebody will follow up on that. Like, I don't need to be at wrestling every weekend, maybe once a quarter.
So maybe it can turn into a thing.
Yeah.
All right.
But it was really, really fun. Like, I had an awesome time.
I love that.
Yeah. And it was really like a lot of the physicality was very impressive.
Yeah,
And it
it
was
is.
interesting to see some of the stuff that you hear about happens because a while ago, I met somebody who was a professional wrestler in their youth, and they told me some of the behind the scenes stuff of like you have hand signals with the person that you're fighting because you're not actually fighting, you're pretty much doing choreography.
Yeah.
And we did get to see one of those little whispered conversations
Ooh.
where like the one guy was, pressing the other guy's face into the turnbuckle, except he wasn't really, it just looked like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he whispered in his ear, and then they did the next move. I was like, that's neat.
What I don't know about wrestling is I don't know how choreographed is choreographed. Like I never know like is it ad-libbed based on I guess is there a lot of ad-lib, do you think? Or is
I
it
think I think there's probably a lot of ad lib and a lot of shorthand
yeah.
because
I
I
just I just wonder like I don't think they probably don't go in like knowing every move they're going to do, right? It's
that's
just
my
like they sort of do
understanding.
moves and kind of try to get to a certain outcome maybe or something.
Yeah, again, this is my sample size of one former professional wrestler
Yeah.
who told me all this stuff about just that one person's experience and how things worked in the circuit that they were in. And it was some ad libbing, some planned ahead, some stuff because everybody matches against each other in these different circles. So you also know people's go to moves.
Okay.
And so you know what they're going to do, and they know what you're going to do. Like maybe even if you haven't even like wrestled against each other before. But then one of my friends who went with me Saturday was like, I couldn't tell how much people were actually hurt and how much they were playing it up. And I was like,
Mm,
again, from my one person with whom I've spoken at length about this, it's apparently kind of both. Like this stuff actually does hurt like any other sport would,
yeah.
but it doesn't usually hurt as much unless there's an actual bad accident. Like
Okay.
the person that I know had their arm broken twice during their career.
Which I guess would happen in a sport.
Right. I mean, yeah, because I'm thinking I used to play field hockey. I got injured during field hockey. You know, I
Yeah.
was always bruised up and I would get some bad muscle tears. There were high schoolers who blew out their knees, and that was just high school field hockey. So if you look at it as like, yeah, you do actually get hurt just like any other sport,
Yeah.
but
I
it
wonder
was
if it's
really
hard.
good.
Like, I wonder if it's hard when people actually get hurt. You know, like,
I
I,
would
I
think that that's upsetting to everybody when someone like really gets their arm broken.
no, I mean, like, you really get your arm broken, and then you're like, ow, ow, ow. I mean, there are probably cues that indicate that I'm not playing around. But
Yes.
you think part of the choreography is like, oh, something. Oh, I've been hurt. Oh
You know,
no.
you're right. Like sit down all dazed on the mat, like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
out of it. I've really been hit. Yeah, you're right. Like, what about when it's not an act?
Yeah. But I bet there are probably built-in cues for that and things like that. Maybe.
Yeah, it would be interesting to learn more about all the behind the scenes stuff
Yeah.
because a lot of it was really good, and a lot of it looked very real. From the angle we were at, you could see a couple times there were some punches that were absolutely not punches, and the banging noise is just because they stomp when they like do
Uh
a
huh.
stage punch.
I love the stomp. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was good. It was really, really good.
Well, and I know a lot of like it does draw a cross section, like my nanny,
Hmm.
who was super into wrestling all the time, and then there's a lot of I mean, a lot of my like straight bro friends are
Uh
sort
huh.
of into like bro, like I when I say straight bro friends, I feel like I think
I know. I'm like,
I
who
think
are your straight bro friends?
well, like like the like some of the comedy crowd, like my
Oh, all
stand
right.
up
Yeah,
comedy friends.
sure.
I don't
That
know if
makes
those are
sense.
technically bros, but they're like straight guy, like
Yeah,
straight guys. They're just straight guys doing their straight guy thing.
yeah,
They're into it, but then I also know a lot of like gay guys who are into it,
yeah.
and who would be who are into like Real Housewives and wrestling because
Yes.
it's a similar theatricality, like, or
It
maybe it's not
really,
as it's a similar level of it's I guess it's not a similar theatricality. I guess I think they're probably very different, but it's a similar level of theatricality.
well, and it in ways it's not that different than drag. Like
Yeah.
they've all got their personas, they've all got their little outfits. There's one guy who came out in like little briefs and puffy ski boots. And I said to one of my friends, I was like, sexy snowboarder? Is that the vibe we're going for? So there is a lot of that too, where it's like, this is really gay in a cool way.
Yeah, it does have a there is a gay thing going
Yeah.
on
That
with
I
the
super duper appreciated. And I was with all straight dudes, and they also appreciated, like, yeah, pretty gay.
yeah.
I love it.
Well, I'm glad for you. I'm
Yeah.
glad you've had this experience.
I know I did something new.
I'm glad you did something new.
Yes.
I
That's funny that you remember the Taco Bell. I don't remember me being so enthusiastic.
yeah, you were really into it. You were like, I love Taco Bell. Taco Bell is the greatest place in the world. Where has Taco Bell been? And I'm not that different. I think
Oh,
you wear your heart on your sleeve
I
maybe a
do.
tiny bit more
I
than I do.
do.
Because I'll have the same thing. I'll be like, oh, I'm really into this thing now that I'm doing, and I'm like, I'm never
Yeah.
going to do this again.
I mean,
But
I do like adventures. I
yeah,
think that's the thing about me. Like, if I'm doing a thing, I often feel like I may as well just wholeheartedly do this thing instead of be like, blah, blah, I'm doing the thing. I don't know. It's my
You know what
joie
else?
de vivre.
You and your joie de vivre.
It's what everybody's saying. Oh, Heather and her freaking joie de vivre.
Non, je ne regrette rien. That's you. You know what else is an adventure, Heather?
What else is an adventure?
Archaeology.
Oh, it sure is.
You want to hear a we still don't have an intro for this after like 10 years, so I'm just going to do it again. You ready? You want to hear an unshelved mystery? Because that's where I blow the dust off. Because I
Yes.
took it off the shelf and I blew the dust off. So it goes.
Yeah,
Did everybody?
sometimes you even do a little mime bit where you pull the imaginary book off the shelf and
Oh, I did. It was just sort of off camera this time.
oh, I
It was
didn't get to
just
see it this
so
time.
yeah. So
Okay.
I'm doing it. If you could see, if
The
you could
shelf
see
is
me,
over there.
you'd see my
Gotcha.
shelf is over here.
Gotcha.
I'm pulling
Yes.
the thing off the shelf and I'm blowing on it. So
Wonderful.
blow the dust off.
Yeah.
Unshelved mystery.
I took it that you blew the dust at me and I sneezed. We're
Okay.
working on this bit here, yeah.
Well, if anyone's still listening, so this was fun. So this was a fun little nib nab. So several
A
years
fun
ago,
little nip nab.
I don't know, Heather. Listen, it's very cold.
Yeah, we're doing great today. No, I think this is great.
So this was reported in a few different places, and I had to cross-reference a couple things because there were a couple things I wasn't quite getting. But I'm focusing largely on an article in from Ars Technica by Jennifer Ouellette, I think, called "Ancient Wisdom: Oldest Full Sentence in First Alphabet is About Head Lice." Now, I take issue with this headline, and I'll tell you why in a bit. But so. Several years ago, archaeologists unearthed a small ivory comb at Tel Lashish in Israel. This was once a major Canaanite city-state in the second millennium BCE. So this little ivory comb, of which I have a picture in front of me, but you'll have to picture. It's a comb made of ivory, not that hard to picture, with little scribbles on it that are sort of hard to see. So it wasn't until just a few months ago that someone realized that the comb had it wasn't just like sort of artful doodles on the comb. It was actual inscription with little pictograph symbols. So now this is described. So Josef Garfinkel, who was the co-author of the paper that talks about this, says, quote, "This is the first sentence ever found in the Canaanite language in Israel," which is good. There are Canaanites in Ugarit in Syria, but they write in a different script, not the alphabet that is still used today. The Canaanite cities are mentioned in Egyptian documents, the Amarna letters that were written in Akkadian, and in the Hebrew Bible. The comb inscription is direct evidence for use of the alphabet in daily activities some 3,700 years ago. This is a landmark in the history of the human ability to write. Now, the article goes on to say, while early writing systems emerged in Mesopotamia and Egypt over 5,000 years ago, they used symbols rather than a bona fide alphabet, which appeared significantly later, around 1800 BC. I sort of don't agree with that. So I think this is a very significant, very early piece of writing. A lot of people with, I have a bee in my bonnet about Egyptian hieroglyphics because people think that it's described sometimes as a symbolic language. So they don't consider it's not always considered a true alphabet, which isn't correct. So like people think like, cause it's got like birds and things. So
Like
people
people think
think
it's a rebus and not
basically,
an alphabet.
and that's a common misconception, but those, like if you see a bird in Egyptian hieroglyphics, it's not representing a bird. It's representing a sound, a specific sound.
An
So
airplane.
no, like a sound, like huh or whatever. I don't know what the bird sound is. But like
That's the
huh,
sound that most birds make. I
right.
walk out of my house and the birds are in the trees just going, huh,
But
huh.
the sound has nothing to do with the bird. Just like A has nothing to do with our picture of a letter A. It's just a picture
Right.
that represents a sound. So like the bird has nothing to do with whatever the
Mhm.
sound the bird, it's an alpha. So it's an alphabet. It's just instead of A, B, C, and D, it's bird, tree, house, whatever. um, so it sounds like what this article is saying that Egyptian hieroglyphs don't count because um, it's symbolic rather than um, an actual alphabet, which is not correct. So I think this is not quite as I think this discovery of this comb is not quite as the article's trying to turn this into like, oh, this is basically the first writing anyone's ever found, and that's not true.
Oh, okay.
And that's not correct. And it's not correct that Egyptian hieroglyphics aren't an actual language. They are an alphabet like any other alphabet. It's just the pictures are confusing. That was part of the reason that people had such a hard time deciphering hieroglyphics until the Rosetta Stone, because people were trying to make sentences out of like bird, tree, house, dog. What could that mean? As opposed to
Sure,
just like,
that
oh
makes
no, they're
sense.
just sounds that make a word.
Right.
Unless they're underlined, that's the catch, by the way. So like if the bird is underlined, then they mean bird, and they just don't want to write out
Yeah,
whatever
all
the
the sounds for
word for
bird.
the sounds for bird, because they're like, we have a bird.
Yeah, we'll use the bird.
Why don't we just use the bird and save some time? But anyway, so this is still pretty cool. So if you were a Canaanite of approximately 3,700 years ago and you went to buy a comb, what kind of thing might you want written on your comb, do you think?
Boy, I might want this is Heather's comb. Don't touch it.
Okay, so that's fair. That's not what this says. It doesn't mention your name. um, it actually translates to something like, may this ivory comb root out the lice of your hair and beard. So,
That's a wonderful wish.
yeah,
And in fact, I think I'm going to start inscribing that in birthday cards.
I think you should. They also describe it as a spell, which I'm sort of like, that sounds just more like a thing you would see on a thing. You know what I mean? Like,
My birthday card thing was better than
yeah.
a spell. I mean, I'm all for witchcraft and spells,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not going to go so far as to say that that inscription is in spelling that comb
Yeah, I think,
to
and
be a lice deterrent.
maybe there's more to the archaeology of people who know more about spells in ancient Canaan. But I feel like sometimes, like if something's old, people automatically ascribe like, you know, because it basically says like, it's basically saying like, here's a comb to help you get rid of your hair lice, and they're like, ooh, it's a spell.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if it's a spell so much as like a description of what it does.
Yeah, no, I feel like you could probably find somewhere a comb or a brush that has like the indent that's got the gold plastic inlay in it
Yeah,
that says, like, you're beautiful.
right.
I bet you could find one of those today.
Oh yeah.
Like, it would be easy. And I don't think that anybody would consider that a spell, meaning like this comb is going to make somebody more beautiful than they already are. I think it's probably just a like, here's a thing to put on a comb.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I get a little, it's fine. But when
It's fine. Let the
people,
they want to be fanciful. Go ahead, be fanciful.
they want to be fanciful and it doesn't hurt anything. I just feel like, it's exotic enough. It's 3,700 years ago.
I know.
You don't need to be like, oh, it's a magical spell
And
on this
also, it's a
comb.
magic spell against lice.
Right. It's like, or here's a comb to help you do lice.
Yeah.
Get rid of lice.
Huh. Interesting.
So I'm going to see if I can get you one of those for your birthday. Speaking of
Thank
birthdays.
you.
You got
And
it.
then are you going to inscribe my card with, may this ivory comb help you root out lice from your hair and beard?
I'm going to inscribe your card with, may this birthday card root out lice from your hair and beard.
Ow, that's a lot of paper cuts.
Yeah, but do you want lice or not? I guess is the question.
Over paper cuts, maybe. On my delicate chin?
No. I've given you, I said what I said. I don't know. I don't know. It's your life. Do what you're going to do.
I don't know. I guess I'll just keep my lice.
All right. Fair enough.
Take him to the wrestling match. Ross, do you want to talk about Roald Dahl?
No.
Okay, then what do you got next?
Shows that's. I thought we could just wrap it up. Yeah, let's talk about Roald Dahl on WAYO 104.3 FM Rochester. Yeah, let's talk about Roald Dahl.
Did you
Go
read
for it.
Roald Dahl when you were growing up?
I don't know that it's funny that I don't know that I did.
I know I read some. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, most definitely, and the one about the Great Glass Elevator, and I had James and the Giant Peach. Other
Yeah,
than that, I'm not sure I
like
had a lot of Roald Dahl.
maybe James and the Giant Peach, but I really don't know. I don't know that I did. I don't know that I ever. I mean, I was aware of Roald Dahl and Roald Dahl's stories and books and things, but I don't know that I. I just don't know that he ever came up actually in school. I mean, I know like and like I saw the movie I saw
Yeah,
Willy Wonka
I
and the
saw the
Chocolate
movie way
Factory.
later.
Yeah,
I saw the movie as an adult.
right.
Um, and I don't know if James and the Giant Peach and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory came up in school, or I was always a kid and I'm still an adult who likes to read descriptions of food.
Okay,
Like I like to talk about food, I like to read about food, I like to think
sure.
about food. Um, and those, of course, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and James and the Giant Peach, lots of talk about food. So I don't know if those were ones that I owned James and the Giant Peach. So someone must have gotten that for me.
Yeah.
And I think I only ever got Charlie and the Chocolate Factory out of the library. But so I do not have any personal, like, but these books meant the world to me when I was growing up, which is great because it also came to light. I'd been somewhat unaware of this. I thought I'd heard some stuff about Roald Dahl. Not a great person.
Yeah, no, I don't know that much about him except in the context of what we're wending our way around to talking about.
Yeah, and I got my information from NPR, and they very clearly linked to an article um, saying that the Roald Dahl Story Company issued an apology in 2020 for some anti-Semitic comments Dahl made throughout his life. There have been accusations of racism, not good stuff.
Yeah.
But what we're going to be talking about right now is the Roald Dahl Foundation went through a lot of the books and changed a lot of language and added new language. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to feel about this. Some examples are instead of being called small men, the Oompa Loompas in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory are now called small people. And there's a book, The Witches, that I don't think I'd ever read, but
Mhm.
there's apparently a line that says that the witches are bald beneath their wigs. And there's a new line added that says, there are plenty of other reasons why women might wear wigs, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I have heard some of I've seen little bits and pieces of some of the corrections like you just mentioned. And I don't know if we're hearing the most extreme examples because obviously I haven't gone through all the Roald Dahl books to see like what the changes are. Um and as you said, um this was this was Puffin Books was the publisher in conjunction with the Roald Dahl Foundation doing this. They some of them some of them sound a little tin-eared. I mean, they sound very um they sound a little overpoured and a little artlessly done. Um to like in the example you gave of like and then to explain that, you don't have to be a witch to be to wear a wig, and here's why. Lots of people wear wigs and it's totally fine. Um that does sound a little bit like an example of the kind of thing that people are going to be primed to make fun of.
Yeah, and there are also I can't find them here, but there were some changes like to yeah, like a Twitter user says here, just a tweet is quoted. As a teacher who's always loved Roald Dahl, I have simultaneously loved yet struggled with elements of his writing. He conflates ugly and fat with mean. I have no problem with those changes to the text.
Yeah.
So there are things where it's really mean language.
Well,
And
and I
it's kind of
sorry.
funny what I'm running up against with this because, I am all about careful speech. I'm the word police on myself,
Yeah.
and gladly so. I'm pleased to be. It's something I choose that I want to do for me. I want to choose the best term. I want to be kind when I can. And even when I was reading about this, I was thinking, gosh, I don't know how I feel about so many changes being made to these books. And are they that necessary? Like, maybe they are. But when I
Well,
was a kid, I don't remember being affected by the Oompa Loompas being small men instead of small people.
well, you wouldn't be. I mean, that's part of the thing, right? Is stereotypes are stereotypes because you don't necessarily notice them. But so, I mean, there's an important thing here that is definitely, and I'm still like, I still, yeah, I'm sort of at odd ends, even ends.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure how I feel about this. An important consideration is, because everyone with, of course, the temperature, the volume went up with this immediately. And everybody's
Mm-hmm.
screaming about censorship and wokeness and blah, blah, blah. And President Biden and Kamala Harris is coming down and taking your books away. And she's there. So this is, and we've seen this before. We saw this with Dr. Seuss and a couple of the
Yes, we
books.
did.
This is not the woke police came in and demanded these changes to the books. This is the publisher and the family
Yes.
beneficiaries saying, we want these books to remain relevant, meaning sellable. We don't want them to
Mm-hmm.
be like a legacy thing that people read academically because they're not really appropriate, or kids today aren't interested in them, or because they have
Mm-hmm.
content that makes parents think twice about buying them. We want to make them so that they can be are going to be sold and be popular and work with kids today. We want them to be.
Yep.
This is a very capitalist decision. This is an extremely brutally capitalist decision to say, we will change these books however we need to make sure they can keep being sold.
Oh, yeah, because as much as people do love to scream, like, oh, wokeness, oh, the police are coming. No, it's the people who own the rights to these
Right. This is
that opted by themselves. Maybe they got some letters from customers, but again, that was letters from customers.
mhm.
That's how publishers work. They get feedback and they go, oh, shoot, we want to keep selling this stuff.
And I get that. Like, if you sell popular children's books and they're getting so out of, they're moving so out of the mainstream, and they've done this before, I guess. In the 70s, there were some of the illustrations were some of the illustrations of some of the characters, like Oompa Loompas and other characters, were more overtly racist.
Oh,
So this
okay.
was done even in the 70s while Roald Dahl was still alive, where they have made changes before, like, oh, we want to keep these on the shelves.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and I get it. Like, if you're the publisher, again, you have the choice. These can be a legacy thing that we will keep pristine, that will be a thing for adults and academics and, maybe
Well,
people
did
who
you
want to
read the
explore these
update
stories.
that there will be a legacy thing?
Yes.
Because in reaction to this, there's also the classic version,
Right.
which is
Which
the
is
version that doesn't explain why women might wear wigs other than they're bad, evil, nasty witches.
probably the best way to do it. I guess the other thing
Yeah,
about removing all that language too is it makes it a little easier to whitewash the past. But again, that gets into, you know, as a parent, am I going to want my kids reading the Roald Dahl books if they're racist and anti-Semitic and they have all this and fat people are bad and blah
right.
blah blah? I'm probably going to be like, maybe I'll go to something else. So as the publisher, I get it. I 100% get it.
Well,
I
and
also
that's
from the,
what people were bringing up. I'm sorry.
I mean, as a purist,
I
I
know.
also, there's another part of me that hates the idea of, and again, pretending these things never, pretending these views were never held, and even just losing the context and losing the, there are a lot of problematic books that I love. And if you took out the problematic bits, I don't know what happens to the soul of those books. Sometimes that's a key part of what you're learning or what you're getting from the story. Um,
Yeah. Well, and you wonder really, like, maybe it is time for these books to be a thing that, like, if I gave a box of my books to a friend who has kids who are at that reading level, It
Mhm.
would have my old copy of James and the Giant Peach in it, and the kid could see what they thought of it. But maybe because I'm trying to think like what meaning did I glean from these books? None, if I remember correctly.
And I just don't remember. I know I didn't read them. I mean, the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory movie, which is not the name of the book, is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory movie, it seems to be like, I don't know, don't eat a lot of sweets or you're going to die. I mean, that was the, and I think the thing with Roald Dahl is they do have a cheekier sensibility than a lot of
Mm-hmm.
children's books. And I think that's part of the appeal is like, it's not just, oh, and the bear is going to the
Yeah.
market and he's going to play. It's like, there's a little bit of violence and a little bit of sarcasm and a little bit of, a little bit of an offbeat sense of humor. So I think that's what is to appreciate about them. Um, so I think the message is, yeah, if you eat too many sweets, you're going to die. If you're gluttonous, but I don't think they die. Actually, I think it just kind of seems like they die. Anyway, I'm just thinking, but I'm basing this on the movie, so I have no idea. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't even know what I'm doing here.
You're on the radio.
Oh,
Get yourself together.
I
Yeah,
was gonna
so
start
this
eating.
is one.
I was gonna start eating my walnuts.
Joseph will yell at you.
I'm so hungry.
Um, yeah, so this is one where I didn't really know what to think, and I guess I still don't know what to think. Um,
And
I
I think that's
did,
okay. No, go ahead.
yeah.
Sorry.
Um, apparently, the changes were referred to as an affront to democracy by one reader who responded to the Daily Telegraph's report on the proposed change. It is funny, like people really. I did have thoughts and feelings about this. I did not get all fired up over it.
No, I mean, I guess yeah, I,
It's interesting.
it's interesting. I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting discussion. Um, you could be, maybe it's not unreasonable to think like this could be a slippery slope for other things, but I think this is only ever going to happen with children's books. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I think, I don't think there's going to be any market for people who like came through and, got rid
I
of
can't.
class distinctions in Jane Austen or something like that. It's not. I think this is only ever going to happen with children's
I
books.
would think so. Or like scrubbed out all of the romantic scenes out of romance novels.
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
So I
Who's gonna buy them? What publisher would opt for that?
yeah. So I think it's interesting. I don't think it's quite as dramatic as people want to make it. I don't think it's the end of civilization. And again, the fact that the people who own the thing
Well,
are doing a thing to get more people to buy the thing isn't quite the same as like Michelle Obama coming and taking all your books away.
right. And I believe people conflate stuff like this where the publisher or the rights owner or the author themselves goes and changes something. I think people conflate that with Biden made them do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, they're English, so I guess Biden probably did.
And there's so much censorship in the wind right now. Like we talked last year about Harper Lee, To Kill a Mockingbird, where I think a school district had removed it from the required reading list only because, and their reasoning was basically like it takes up a lot of oxygen to talk about all the racial dynamics in it, and teachers may not have the time to give it the full thing that it deserves. So we're making it not a required book. It is an optional book that teachers can still teach. We're not taking it off the shelves. We're not taking it out of kids' hands. It's not necessarily going to be taught in every single class at this grade at this time, in like a certain grade level, like in middle
Mm-hmm.
school or whatever, which again, you can have thoughts about. Interesting. There are a lot of books in the world, and teachers, schools can't teach every single one. So, but that was another one where it was like censorship, and that was
Yeah.
almost coming from the other side of it, like
Uh huh.
because there was so much racist censorship,
There
that it
is.
sounded like, oh, now
Yeah.
they're getting rid of To Kill a Mockingbird when that's not what that was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I understand a knee jerk reaction, but sometimes it can be good to take a beat and go like, "Oh, I think this is this. Is it really?"
Yeah.
And then sometimes you find out, yes, it is.
Yeah,
But a
absolutely.
lot of times when I have a knee jerk reaction, I think it through for a second. I'm like, oh, you thought it was that. Okay, no. All right, okay.
And honestly, with all the censorship and stuff, I mean, 99 times out of 100, your knee jerk reaction is probably going to be just just fine.
I know.
But it's still worth it to take a beat. I mean, it's interesting, like how people tie themselves up in knots, because the same people that are applauding Ron DeSantis getting rid of Black history, taking books off the shelf such that classrooms cannot have books in them because because no books have been approved for their new curriculum,
Uh-huh.
because they have to go through and find out if there are black people in them. I mean, the same people that are applauding that are like, can you believe that Michelle Obama's coming to take away your Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
Yeah.
So what? So you're thrilled that books about queer and people of color are being forcibly removed from shelves and taken out of kids' hands, but you're very upset that you might accidentally buy a copy of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory that doesn't have racist stuff in it.
Uh-huh.
Like, I mean, so again, these are
Yeah.
complicated
I
issues,
don't
but it's
I
all
yeah.
silliness if you ask me.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm probably not going to go up to the attic and see about my Roald Dahl books so that I can reread them and see what I think.
I don't know if I should. I mean, it does feel like
They're quick. They're for like very young people. I think you could rip through one pretty fast.
it feels like a gap in my literary knowledge to have not read Roald Dahl, and I do appreciate, like when I was a kid in the 80s, like I liked stuff like that wasn't Roald Dahl. Like I liked stuff
Hmm.
that was a little like maybe nastier is not the right word, but
Just
almost
maybe
that
a little less treacly.
a little perfect. Yes, absolutely. A little less treacly. That was movies, books. That was the stuff I gravitated toward, you know, edgier, I guess we'd say these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Edgy little one.
yeah, so I probably would have loved them, but it I don't know, just never entered my reading circle.
Yeah, and I don't know how it entered mine.
Yeah.
I
I think they're hard to avoid, so I'm less surprised than you've have some than
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm kind of surprised I didn't read more of his stuff.
yeah.
And maybe I did. Maybe I've forgotten. I still read a fair bit, but when I was a kid, I read voraciously.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing else to do.
There was nothing else to do.
There weren't a million shows to catch up on.
No, there's nothing on the TV. It's better to just stay in your room and read.
Yeah.
Then you wouldn't get yelled at.
Right. I'd still get yelled at, but
Not if I stayed in my room and read.
oh, I'd get yelled at for staying in my room and reading.
Oh, wow. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, opposite for me.
Yeah. Oh, I'd get yelled at if I came out too.
Oh, no.
I had an abusive family.
Oh.
But that's our show. I'm doing much better now. Now I don't really get yelled at either way, which is nice. So all's well that ends well. You know what, everybody? You know what, Heather?
What, Ross?
We're going to be back next week.
We sure are.
We've got some great shows coming up on WAYO 104.3 FM Rochester. Stick around. We'd love to have you. We will be silent for the next however many hours are in a week. And
Oh, I don't know.
but we'll be there. We'll be listening too. So
We will. We'll be listening. And if you want to get a hold of us and tell us about how much you enjoyed not hearing Ross chew on food during this episode, you can drop us a line at jimmyspaceboy@gmail.com and we will read what you have to say.
However, feedback, don't be shy with your feedback saying I need to be eating more. We want to hear that too. See you next week, everybody. Oh, there we go. I love being so wealthy, but it's kind of getting to me how we are forging everything.
I am not going back to a life of being not wealthy, Ross.
Oh, no, not that. I was just thinking maybe we should start going to galleries and smashing stuff so we have real shards to sell.
Oh, I like the way you think. I'll see you tomorrow at the art gallery.
It's a date. Disclaimer: if anything is smashed at the art gallery, this was a purely fictional uh, play, and none of the characters are based on real life at all.
Though, every time I hear about that balloon dog getting shattered, I feel like I did it. That's like a fear I have at the art gallery.
Yeah.
And when I hear about someone bumping the pedestal and the statue went crashing, I'm like, oh, I did it. Like I feel guilty as though I was responsible. I've never even been to Florida. I
Yeah.
wasn't the woman who did it.
I think I'm gonna fall into a painting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
Not
mean,
like metaphorically, not like, oh, in a magical fairyland, but like I will fall
no.
into it and shred it with my fingers
Yes.
trying to get purchase.
I was at a museum in the spring and they had this very, very thin string around like a setup of intricately arranged bowls all over the floor. I was like, don't fall on the bowls, don't fall on the bowls, don't fall on the bowls. I was so
Yeah.
scared I was going to fall on the bowls.
Don't fall on the bowls, everybody.